Going on, my fellow knowledge seekers? We're at an exciting time of the year. March Madness just ended, baseball season is starting, and NBA playoffs are starting. First and foremost, got to give a shout out to Darion Trammell. He may not have gone to my alma mater, Tam High, but he's from a town right by my hometown. His brother, Mike Mitchell, formerly Mike Mitchell, he goes by Mike Adams now, a friend of mine, his younger brother. So even though I wasn't smart enough to meet Darion, hung out with Mike numerous times. So that's crazy to see that he was on San Diego State, made it all the way to the finals. I am so bummed he lost to UConn, especially because Miami is my favorite college. So if he's going to lose, I would have loved that he lost to Miami and gotten a win for the U. Instead, we get a win for the Huskies, who've won enough titles in girls basketball. Don't need any more, but at least if he's going to lose, lost to the Huskies, my favorite dogs. So over to professional basketball. As I said, very exciting time of the year. I think the NBA regular season is one of the biggest wastes of time ever. There are 30 teams and 16 of them make the playoffs. And you can look at an NBA team and kind of know who's going to make it. So if you look at in the West, seeds, Denver, obvious, Phoenix, obvious, Clippers, obvious, Warriors, obvious, Memphis being a 2 seed and Sacramento being a 3 seed. Those are both, could not have seen that. Minnesota, you wouldn't have thought they'd be the 9 seed, but you would have thought they'd make the playoffs. And then Lakers and the Pelicans. Pelicans without Zion is surprising they're in it, but with Zion, they were a shoo-in. And then OKC over Dallas is crazy. For everyone's sake, I really hope that Luka and the Mavericks pull it off because no one wants to see OKC in the playoffs. I know SGA and Giddey are a great backcourt, but they don't have enough depth overall to really compete. And even if you think the Mavericks aren't really going to do anything, it was just last year that Luka gave the Warriors a run for their money. Dude is a one-man wrecking crew. He had a 60-point triple-double earlier in the year. That's just must-see TV. He really should be in the playoffs. Also, OKC's like kind of been tanking. They were like in the suck for Victor along with the Rockets. So props to them for being in the hunt. But I think they would rather not make the playoffs unless they want that playoff experience for SGA and Giddey. But overall, not that much is crazy there. You got Denver at the 1 seed, Milwaukee at the 1 seed. We kind of all saw that coming. Boston and Philly at the 2 and 3 makes sense. Brooklyn at the 6 is kind of a surprise. I actually think I remember saying that they're going to compete more than you think. They traded all their picks for Harden, so they've got no incentive to tank, and they had a bunch of decent players. Everyone likes to knock Simmons. He's great on defense. I drafted Nick Claxton in fantasy. He had the breakout season that many saw coming. So props to them for being there. Crazy to see Toronto and Miami at 7 and 9, Atlanta at 8. Really impressive they passed them. And then Knicks, Cleveland, the 4 and 5 is going to be a really good battle. That Knicks team really overachieved. That's exciting for them. But just some quick hits. People have been talking about Joker being the MVP for the 3rd year in a row, which is so crazy to me. When Russ averaged a triple-double a few years back for a whole season, everyone thought it was so incredible. And then he did it 2 years in a row, and everyone's like, meh, he doesn't play enough defense. They're empty stats. So then Joker does it, and everyone thinks he's the greatest. And then Luka puts up gaudy stats, and then people act like Luka is just a stat guy. Luka and Jokic, neither of them is a great defensive player. They're more just doing amazing things with the ball. So what I don't get is why Joker is seen as the best thing since sliced bread, and Luka is a liability. If you look at their team, Christian Wood and Kyrie are not defensive players. I know Jamal Murray's not, but Aaron Gordon is a very athletic dude, wins dunk contests for a reason. He's a big body. He's not like Zach LaVine, who's just an offensive guy. He grinds on defense. Now, Michael Porter Jr. may not be much of a defender, but they also have Caldwell Pope, who's a good defender. And to me, Luka can guard the 1 through 4. So it's better to have a guard and forward who slacks off on D, and then you just put him on the weakest person. Whereas Jokic can only guard the 4 and 5. So if you have a 4 and 5 who can't play D, that's a big problem. Let's match both those guys up against the Suns. Luka is 7 to 8 inches taller than Chris Paul. He can totally hang with Chris Paul. Jokic absolutely can't guard KD at the 4. So he's guarding Ayton. Ayton is a big physical force. To me, Joker is a bigger hole on defense. So I would go MVP, Embiid, Luka, then Jokic. The whole world thinks it's Jokic. I know the stats say it's Jokic. If you watch tape, it's Embiid. Embiid is a physical force. Best point for me is he absolutely dominated Rudy Gobert a few weeks ago. I know Rudy Gobert has had an off season, but Rudy Gobert is one of the best defensive players of all time. And he looks like a little boy against Embiid. So for me, you watch the tape, you see he had a game-saving block against Luka a while back. Embiid is the clear MVP to me. And also, they don't give the MVP to the same guy over and over again. You can argue LeBron and Giannis should be the MVP every year because they have such a great impact on both sides of the ball. But does LeBron have 8 or 9 MVPs? No, they don't give it to the same guy over and over again. Just like Steve Nash had his best year after winning back-to-back MVPs. The next year was his best year, but they didn't give it to him because you don't give the same person 3 MVPs in a row unless they truly, truly deserve it. And Joker just doesn't. I'm sorry. So there's my little rant on Joker. It's funny. I realized the other day how biased I was because I like Luka. I was like, but wait, Luka's soft on D too. But again, you can put Luka anyone on 1 through 4, the softest dude, whereas Joker has to guard a big. Most really good teams have a good big. So, like if you put him against the Celtics, Rob Williams isn't an elite player, but Joker doesn't have the strength to play with him. So, going to some quick hits in baseball. So excited for the start of the year. There's some people who are back. Joey Gallo has been awful for years. Joey Gallo's back. Trace Thompson is getting Clay's little brother is getting I don't know if he's little, he's 32. It's like Clay's age. Who's younger? Is getting some good time in for the Dodgers. He had 3 home runs the other day. And people are saying it's a fluke. Of course, having a 1666 OPS is a fluke, but he had an 860 OPS last year. So overall, he's not like a full fluke. He's definitely someone who should be added in fantasy leagues. Someone I just added, the league-leading OPS 1885 is Adam Duvall for Boston. Of course, he's not going to keep up his 588 average, but you have to remember, someone who's hitting 3rd and 4th in a lineup is going to put up around 80 runs and 80 RBIs unless they're on the A's or the Rays. So anyone who's hitting 3rd and 4th and has had like 30 home run potential, they should be owned. So I didn't actually realize this. I just go to trends and add trendy players or former prospects. Nolan Gorman is someone you absolutely should spend your fantasy fab on, especially in a dynasty league. 2 years ago, him and Dylan Carlson were seen as really, really good fantasy prospects. They both had bad years last year, so people soured on them. I actually listened to the fantasy pundits and didn't add Nolan Gorman. Then he hit 2 home runs. I'm like, okay, now I'm adding. So he's hitting 500, got a 1647 OPS, and he plays at second base, which is super rare for fantasy. Same as Bryce Terang for Milwaukee. Second base, shortstop eligibility, also hitting 500. Former prospects with 2 steals as well. Go for Terang, go for Nolan Gorman, add Adam Duvall. And then just like Duvall, a power hitter who's back from out of nowhere, 2 in the AL Central. We've got Yohan Moncada, who we all know could steal bases, but really doesn't. He's turned into more of a power hitter, but is hitting the cover off the ball. And then Yankee fans are going to love this. Joey Gallo's hitting. He's got over a 300 average, which is so not common for Joey Gallo. We all know that's not actually down to 286. But even if he sticks around 220, he's got that 40 home run potential. So Joey Gallo is definitely someone you should be adding in your fantasy leagues. Will Smith got the first save of the year for the Rangers, so definitely look into Will Smith. And then going today is my guy Yusei Kikuchi. He had 31 Ks in 20 spring innings this year, so that's definitely an exciting player. Oh, and then I forgot to mention catcher is a really tough position to find as well. Mitch Garver had 2 home runs the other day, and I know he's not going to play every game. He's going to sit, but when he's in there, he's a really good option. So let's go into some streaming options for tomorrow. There aren't really good streaming matchups. David Peterson is going to be the best one versus Milwaukee for the Mets. Not only can he get you a win, but that's a really sorry lineup. Speaking of sorry lineup, they've actually rolled out a new prospect who I added without doing any research. I just saw they said Joey Weimer, home runs and speed potential. Turns out he's also 6'5", 215, and has a good throwing arm. So I got really lucky on that one. Sometimes I do my research. Sometimes I just take a flyer. I got lucky on Joey Weimer. So there's another person you can add. They're also firing up. Who's that other rookie outfielder they have? He's really fast. Oh, Garrett Mitchell. Google did not pop that up. I remembered. So they got Garrett Mitchell, Bryce Terang. They're really bringing the youth because they have no one who can hit on that team. So then other streaming options for tomorrow, Kyle Mueller did really well in his first start for the Astros, or for the A's, actually beat Shohei Ohtani. He's going against Cleveland, so that's a decent offense. And then the Braves have Bryce Elder going versus St. Louis. St. Louis is a pretty good offense, but I love Braves pitchers. I know I got burned streaming one earlier this year, but I totally trust them. And then another sneaky stream I recommend is Mitch Keller. He's pitching at Boston tomorrow. And Boston, I know Duvall, I just said, has been hot. Overall, they're not an overpowering offense, and Mitch Keller has some terrific stuff. He's the kind of guy you can put up a poop line at any moment, but he can also shut some teams down. And then Eduardo Rodriguez actually did really well for the Rays. He went 5 innings, 1 run. They put him out for the 6th, and then the inherited runs scored. So he ended up allowing 3 runs. So his final line wasn't good, but he was doing a really good job at first. His velo's down a little bit, but he's throwing a cutter. So as Mariano can tell you, if your velo's down, but you throw cutters, you can make it work. So of those streams that are available in my league, I would definitely say that Mitch Keller is the best one to David Peterson and Mitch Keller are the ones to roll with. And I forgot to check all players. There might be someone else. Stroman versus Cincy, if he's available in your league, is a great one. Miles Mikolas got absolutely shelled in his first start, so I would not suggest adding him. And then these rest of these dudes all should be owned. So, yep, that's who I'd say. Definitely spend 4 to 5 fab on Gorman. I spent 5 myself. I think you should spend more in the beginning of the year while people are still figuring it out. And then there's not really much fab to spend until June when the prospects come back. So definitely spend some fab on Nolan Gorman, around 3 to 5 for all these guys. Will Smith, the pitcher, Nolan Gorman, Adam Duvall. Those guys are definitely worth it. And then I spend 0 to 2 on Trace Thompson. If you need the catcher, Mitch Garver. It's pretty easy. You just sort by OPS. RBIs, see who's doing a good job. RBIs are a little more random, so those could be lucky. Like Adam Duvall has 9 RBIs. That makes sense. He's hitting 588. But like Steven Kwan has 7 RBIs with a 644 OPS. He's just gotten lucky with those RBIs. Those are totally random, but Steven Kwan is a good guy to have. Logan O'Hoppe, catcher for the Angels, has an 838 OPS. He had some pretty serious power in the minors, so that could be another nice option for some discount catcher options. And oh my God, I almost forgot why I made this podcast. Go ahead in your dynasty leagues and trade for Miguel Vargas on the Dodgers before it's too late. They've played 3 games. In ESPN, it takes 10 games to get eligibility. In Yahoo, it takes 5 games. This dude is a first base prospect who hits. He's ranked 96 in dynasty rankings for Fantasy Pros, and he's about to gain eligibility at second base. So by all means, I've sent 3 offers for him already, probably blew my chances. Trade for this guy before he gets second base eligibility, because if owners aren't reading the blurbs about their players, they just see him as a first baseman. If they read the blurbs, they know he's a second baseman, but it's quite possible they have no idea they've got a gold mine. So you heard it from me first. Go out and get Miguel Vargas and the Dodgers. Thanks for listening, y'all. Oh, and if you made it this far, please like and subscribe. I always forget to say that. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks for your time.